We're good on my end.
Worst case scenario is slightly off. But
It's okay.
I can post edit that.
All right. You want to start it or me?
All right, guys. We're here. You might want to check and see if I'm actually in the frame.
Oh, crap. Oh, give me a second. I got you.
Because I did kind of change it a bit.
All right, guys. We are here and not so we're going to make this roll.
What?
What? I didn't say anything.
All right, today's episode is going to be on. Kevin, would you want to say it?
I got to get ready for this. FOMO.
The fear of missing out.
Yeah, the fear of missing out. Yeah, that.
All right. How to stop chasing what doesn't matter. All right. So, first thing we're going to go with is... When's the last time you heard somebody miss out on what we got going on?
Hey, man. Nobody ever fears that when it comes to hard work, bro. Nobody feels it.
Hey, bro. They be berating me at work, man. I ain't going to lie. They be berating me about this whole thing on work. But right now we're here for you guys. Where does FOMO hit the hardest?
Oh, that's actually a good one. I think it hits the hardest when you're on social media and you see everybody else living their laptop lifestyle or living the dream, quote unquote. That's to me when other people get hit with it the hardest.
mean, to me, I feel like the skills that people have with certain things that you're kind of envious of, and not necessarily like, the pictures and Instagram posts and traveling and all that stuff too, but I feel like it's a skill that people have too, like with their things. And if you're doing the same thing, it kind of feels a little bit weird that they spend like 5 minutes doing the same thing you spend like 20 days doing. You ever thought about that?
You're right, but acknowledge some people, for them to knock it out in 5 minutes, it probably took them years to figure it out.
Yeah, you're right. We don't know, honestly. They might have just paid
somebody else to do it.
Do you think like money could be a reason why you miss out on things? So like, have you ever had a friend that's like richer than you, or like you feel like it's richer than you, or at least you've seen them with stuff?
Yes, which is why you want to typically keep those people around, because they have something or know something that you should probably learn for yourself.
I think there's two sides of that though, because you got to think, when you're around people like that, you want to be on their level, right? But that might be a problem and a solution, right? So imagine you're jealous, but it's like you want to be in their position, so you buy the things they buy, but you don't really have the money for it. Or imagine, you kind of elevate to their level. You know what I'm saying? Like it could be two sides that kind of go wrong with that.
So basically, faking it till you make it.
Yeah, Drake did it.
He did.
He had a car that he would like show everywhere when he just really, what do they call it when you get a car, really?
You're renting it,
yeah,
leasing it.
My bad. Yeah, I couldn't think of the word, guys. My bad.
You heard it first here, kids. Make sure you rent a car so you can look the part. Rent the car, guys.
So I think there is, it's not really off topic, but it's slightly off topic, I guess. I think there is like a somewhat aura to the room that you have to kind of feel like you need to fulfill. Like you say, you want to wear suits with people and stuff, right?
100%.
Not necessarily that you can't afford it, but like you want to be on the level of the people that are around you. So like imagine you're looking at YouTube and you're like, man, I don't have that big like I was watching Mr. Who's the Boss and he had like that big moss thing on the wall, man. That was clean.
Put a picture here, guys, for the big moss thing so people know what we're talking about.
Or for instance, like NKBHD just made a video where he was showing everybody how he edits his whole team. Like, a lot of time we're doing this stuff in house. So like I'll sit down and edit. Kevin will make a thumbnail.
We get no sleep, guys.
Yeah, we get no sleep.
No sleep in this job.
He makes a lot of the connections we get, and I'll do like some of the grunt work, like where it comes down to editing and stuff. So it's even, but
all parts matter, guys. No parts too low.
You are envious, sort of like imagine you got, you're seeing people online get the people you want in their space, or like you see the people getting the things that they want, or they're giving free things, and you're working hard in here and all that stuff. Imagine that.
It's a process. I'm not gonna say it doesn't exist. To me, it's more. I'm looking. They're already on top, man. I'm looking at it from there. They're already up there. I'm trying to climb up there because nobody shows them working at 2:00 at night trying to finish a video. Nobody ever shows that part. It's always the video itself.
Are you Do you feel like you're? Do you feel like you kind of miss the old way things used to be? Like where it's simplistic, you don't really have to think about too much, and like people kind of take care of things for you. Like imagine people are going traveling, like or people are getting things paid for them, and you just kind of miss that simplistic lifestyle, like with your parents or like maybe significant others that give you stuff, or like you used to live in your house for free. You kind of miss the old times. You ever thought about that before?
I think the reason we miss it is because we the knowledge we have now isn't the same what we had back then. So we're like, if I would have known this now, I would have just done this back then. But no, because it means I'm growing. It means I'm progressing, which is what I'm trying to do.
But even some of you're kind of taking on more responsibility. It's like when your parents tell you to cut the grass, and you're just you've spent your whole life not cutting the grass. They're like, do you want to cut the grass? And you kind of fall for the trap and think like you're just gonna have, but you don't want the responsibility of what's going on. So it's like or like let's say you're living at your parents' house, and you, for instance, realize that although you're living for less than you'll be living in a house or an apartment or something, those things kind of teach you individualism.
They do, but always remember it's a step-by-step progress or process, my bad. So what seems gigantic now, probably 10 years, 5 years, probably even less, it's not the same anymore. At least that's the way I see it. It's just going to get smaller and smaller. Of course, it's going to be this big mountain because, we have to start from the bottom. But as we're climbing, it's just going to get smaller, smaller, and eventually you'll be at the top. But then you'll realize there's more mountains to climb anyway.
So when it comes to relationships, we should probably talk about this. I ain't gonna lie.
All right.
Have you ever felt single, or like you've seen people online getting girls, or like you've seen people with a girlfriend or married, or in certain situations with a relationship or friendship, even that could be something where you feel kind of envious or jealous sort of the situation they have going on, where they just feel like they're all together, they feel nice. You see a caption on Instagram, or you see a thread or something like, oh, my boyfriend, or my man, oh, my, or, you feel like they're locked in, even though you don't see the darker parts.
I did before I was 23. I caught on. I was like, dang, I wish I could get my girl this nice, this nice dress or this new car. But then as you get older, you catch on. I'm like, oh, that's not really how it is.
Yeah, like the 20v1s you see online, right? For instance, you see all those online. At least it was a trend before. I don't know, this past year. I don't know if it's a trend now, where you see the guys like, oh, swiping, or the girls swiping, and then you start to realize that a lot of that stuff is fake. And not saying like the relationships are fake, because obviously they're fake. But I'm saying, like, a lot of those people don't have money. A lot of people in the room are broke.
It's a character.
They're catching them on the street. They're flying them. Maybe the main guy's flying them over, but a lot of them don't really have much going on. Especially in Atlanta. A lot of them are in the Atlanta area, and, like, the studio room that they probably have.
It's a facade.
It's a facade.
You know what? If it makes you feel better, we own our studio room. We actually own a studio room. Yes, sir. Yes, we do. He can't hear it, but we're playing a dramatic air horn effect.
So... forward then. Do you feel like there's a mask to momentum? So like when you're moving forward, do you feel as though people pretend they're doing better than they actually are?
Yes, 100% of the time.
Are you envious of the illusion that they have when it comes to the success that they're getting? So like you see YouTube videos, you see captions, you see people going out, you see people in cars, and people, for instance, trying to find, I guess, because I was looking at this thing where it's like the search for meaning in a lot of the things that you feel like is depreciating value. So like when you buy a nice car, you see the people riding the cars on the street, the expensive cars and stuff like that. Do you feel envious of the momentum that you think they're getting? Because, often in Atlanta, you'll see people at the club, you'll see people driving cars, you'll see people, even if they got it or don't got it, you still see the end part of it.
Yes, but as I've hung out with people who have businesses, I came up to the conclusion that everyone enjoys like the front view of this stuff, but like for example, like the car situation, oh, that's a nice Lambo. Yeah, I'm paying like 3K a month for it. 3K a month? Yeah, like, yeah, you see the nice, oh, I'm driving it, but you're not paying 3 grand. And then, it comes to repairs, it's 3 times the amount. So I guess once I started learning from, I guess, business people, like, we made 50,000 this week, but we're spending 30K on, all the expenses. So it's like, I guess when you see the back room of things, you're like, oh, it sounds nice up front, but when it comes to like paying for stuff, maintaining it, or I guess people like that, people enjoy the front view, but when it comes to the back view, you catch on. You're like, it's not as nice as you think it is.
Man, like for instance, for me, I would see people like doing videos. It's kind of funny seeing people do videos about situations where you're faking the growth that you have. Like for instance, there's people who are like, does buying followers work? Does renting a car really make you look better? You got the gold digger videos, you got, prank videos where they don't realize like how real that stuff is until, or like how fake it could be, for instance, until you're in that situation. So like people will buy followers, they'll show you if it works. They'll buy a YouTube channel. They'll rent a car or buy a car. Even more than half their, I heard like the best way to buy a car is like, don't buy a car that's more than half what you make in a year. Or there's a different subset of rules for each person, but
I think
Graham
it's based
Stephan
on your
brings it
income.
up.
I think it's based on your income when it comes to things like cars, how much you should be spending on it. It's like you said, it's situational. It's based by person.
Because like I was watching I think I just mentioned Graham Stephan, where he told you like maybe 3 or 4 different ways you can like kind of budget a car out. You can say, well, the scam way most people do it is they tell you this car is worth this, but you can get it for so many years and be in debt for so many years. So like most people say don't get more than 4 years worth of a car, but you see people out here running with cars, where they have, all this stuff on it, and you realize they probably still owe a lot on that car. They stole it.
Essentially, because I'm paying the interest for the first couple of years. That's why I say I don't. When I see these nice cars, a majority of them, they don't even own the car, man. They don't even own it. They're just paying the guy who owns it.
Because a lot of the time, right? Let's say you get your dream car.
Yeah.
And you buy it with cash or whatever. A lot of times you either appreciate it so much, like, you appreciate something so much that you don't want to mess with it, or you get something and you get a bunch of stuff for it, but you realize that you didn't really need all that stuff in the first place.
Yeah, I think when it comes to that, it's a person-to-person situation. It's not going to be the exact same thing for everybody. That and depends on what kind of person you are in general. Some people like the OEM, original, don't touch anything. And then some people like to put fancy lights, lower it, paint, PPF. It just depends the conversation and who's dealing with it in general.
Like, for instance, you would see, let's say you get somebody, a partner, and you're seeing all these people buy this expensive stuff for the partner, but the partner doesn't really, you might notice that the partner doesn't really care about all that stuff as much as you might think. Now, it may get you in the door. You may have all this expensive stuff and, it gets you in the door. But as I always say, you should either get, in these situations, when it comes to a car, a house, a girl, or, kids, you either get creative or you add value. So you can either get creative and create a situation for yourself, like where you do a side hustle, or you get the stuff that you want, but you find a way to get it in a legit fashion, but ultimately you can add value where you get the expensive car just to look nice. So then people want to give you things, because there is a broke tax. And there's also, like, if you're rich, people will give you free stuff because they see your momentum.
So basically it's a,
so you're farming aura, but you don't necessarily have the aura. You're farming the aura of the situation, but you don't necessarily have the same aura as the people around you. It's kind of like when you see those videos of like one attractive girl and two, not so attractive girls, objectively speaking. And you realize that she's just farming the aura from the other girls because she wants to look even better. It's kind of like how you do thumbnails and you put like bright colors to sort of contrast the darker colors.
So essentially,
it stands out more.
Yeah, so basically, I'm a 7, but I hang out with 4s. So in comparison, I look like a 9, essentially. Yeah. Okay, I got you.
But then, in the back end, you start realizing how fake the person might be in the back end.
The one who hangs out with you for comparison, or
the one who hangs out with you, yeah, for comparison, or to make people sort of target her. What people don't often realize, though, is when you go up to those type of girls, 9 times out of 10, the other ones are going to do something petty.
Knowledge, guys.
You go up to her, oh, hey, how you doing? Or like, hey, what's up? And they'll sit there and go like, oh, that's my my friend or whatever. Or they'll push you out the way, even though you just like, you're having a genuine conversation with the person, or you were trying to have a genuine conversation with the person. So they don't realize there's like a sort of fake validity to it, a mask that they wear, where they want to be on the same level as the girl in front of them. So they sort of wear the mask that they're on the same level, and they can just push you out the way and just keep her the same way she is.
For context, guys, the fridge always blocks the snacks, guys. Just letting you know that now.
Most people... Yeah, they post the result of all these things, but they don't necessarily post the relapse of the situation they have on, like renting a car or like getting their car towed.
As of this year, we have had the most what is it called?
Relapse.
No, not relapse. We have the most repossessions when it comes to cars this year. There's like a high amount this year that is skyrocketed.
Yeesh.
A lot. Like I said, guys. It's sometimes it's literally just a facade. It really is sometimes.
Do you think there's a sort of loneliness that no one talks about when it comes to the fear of missing out?
Yes, mostly because, well, at least when it comes to guys, you don't want to sound, or get ready to censors. You don't want to sound like a bitch. I'm just being honest. You don't want to sound like a bitch. So you're like, hey, man, I'm just gonna tolerate it sometimes, especially at 4 a.m. when you're by yourself and you're just staring at the ceiling. I'm pretty sure people can relate to that.
I sort of envy loneliness at times. So not loneliness, I guess solitude because I'm choosing it. Mm-hmm. But, oftentimes the people you have around you can kind of pull you towards the things they normally do. Like I was saying earlier, where, you have a friend that goes out often, you have a girl that goes out often, or you see people traveling, or you see milestones that they sort of put themselves through that you don't necessarily get. So in order to sort of grow to a point where you don't feel like, people see your growth, but you just want to be out there. You want to come out there like, you want to come out there like Goku and just, you just kind of, mm-hmm. And, instead of, like, for instance, people do like the gym training for months, or like they go to boxing class for months, or you see YouTubers where they did the whole boxing thing where, you don't really see their growth because they want to just pop out. You don't see them grinding for their, like, for instance, Duke Dennis just bought another Ferrari, and you didn't see all the growth to that point. You see like the views and stuff, but you didn't see the money coming in. You just see like, I got a car.
I think because people find that boring. The actual, like, what you're doing is boring. Because if you show them, like, for example, we show them how this editing process goes, they're gonna get bored.
I mean, yesterday I was telling somebody, because we were arguing about, like, off topic. They were arguing about, like, villains, and we were arguing, like, is there a good real life villain? Can you say there's a good real life villain? I think a part of the nuance with being a villain is, like, you aren't real. Because, like, mm-hmm. You could say, well, who's really a good villain? Like, is it the leaders that we have today? Is it, like,
what's your definition of a villain, though? What is the definition?
Yeah, that's why I also asked him, like, what's your definition of a villain? Like, do you think, like, since people, like, send in droves to serial killers, and, like, for instance, the Monster just came out today about a couple of days ago, or like a week ago, I don't know, about Ed Gein. Is he technically a good villain because he was a villainous person? And the story, I think it is down to storytelling, personally. So, like,
and perspective.
So, like, we could sit on here and say, hey, bro, we grinded a little bit, we got up, and that's not really a story. Now, if we tell them, the latter parts of those things, they start to realize, like, there's a reward to the things we did. But, the journey there was a perilous journey. You know, you got, for instance, Carl Jung, who talks about the characterizations of people. And like when it comes to loneliness, that's sort of like a darker area where you feel lonely because you envy the sort of characters other people have. So you feel like there's loneliness at the bottom and there's loneliness at the top. When you're at the bottom, nobody wants to talk to you. When you're at the top, everyone wants to talk to you, but they're not real.
I think I'd rather be at the top. I'd rather be lonely at the top.
Is there a certain pressure that you feel to level up like faster than others, or you feel as though you don't really want the people that you look down on before to be on the same level you are now because you'll feel like you're sort of coasting in life?
I feel personally in the aspect of the pressure I feel is I understand every day I don't do something or I try to do something by myself. There is a group of people right now just killing it. If I feel sick today, they don't care. If I break my leg, they don't care. If my girlfriend broke my heart today and I'm going to go stand and cry in the closet, well, guess what? They don't care. They're going to keep grinding. There's podcasts right now who have groups who are taking over. So I feel the pressure of I have to win. I have to take this before they do because everyone wants it.
I somewhat agree and somewhat disagree. Like I'm not necessarily envious of groups. Well, when it comes to personal things, like, you know, when I'm getting a house or a car, or like when you're having things that you can do by yourself, like going to the gym. Nobody can really. You can pay for people to outsource the things that you do in the gym,
like food and fitness and exercise.
Yeah, but you can't. You have to ultimately do the work yourself. Like you're essentially going to have to give your whole life being somewhat selfish, not necessarily completely selfish, because there's selfless moments.
I guess in the process of, for
example,
have
a selfless end.
What's your dream car? Like your overall end goal dream car?
Like if I had every bit of money in the world.
Yeah.
Bugatti. I don't know if it's Bugatti Chiron or Chiron, because, you know, depending on where you go, it depends.
All right. Let's say they only made 10 of those a year. Well, let's say me and you work together. Let's say we bring in 10,000 a week. Well, there's a group who's doing the exact same thing we're doing, and they're probably pulling in 80, and they're going to get it faster. And they don't care how I feel. So I feel that pressure of, all right, I got to grind now because I want that same car they want. Because everyone wants that same car, that same house, and I have to take it.
Do you think it's motivated by the people you're motivated by? So, like, if you see a group of people growing, you want to grow like that group. But if you see people doing it alone, you kind of envy the fact that they did it alone. I often listen to, like, the philosophy of, like, Musashi, for instance, you know, who you could say, well, he did it with other people, but you don't hear about those other people. You just hear about, like, the start, the middle, the end, and he's doing it by himself. You kind of envy the fact that he did a lot of things by himself, but you also envy, like, the groups in life. Like you see like bigger YouTubers doing it with 2 people or 3 people, or like Smosh, or like, you know, where you see them doing it in a group. So you kind of envy that in certain situations.
I guess it's from the people you speak of. That was like back in the day. Now it's oversaturated. Now everybody's trying. Like I say, when they ask kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? Most of them say influencers, YouTubers, TikTokers, streamers. It's oversaturated now to where you can't do it alone 100% now. Back then, yes, because there wasn't that many. YouTuber, what's a YouTuber? Oh, that's not a real job. Or what's a streamer? That's not a real job either.
I mean, you don't notice the ghostwriter, though. I mean, I guess it's not a ghostwriter, but it can be. Like, you don't notice the guy who's editing the team. You know, you don't notice the guy who's color grade. You don't notice the guy who's doing the music. You don't notice the guy who's doing the sound. You don't notice the guy who's your accountant. You don't notice those guys. You only see the guy who's the face of it all. Like, you don't see, not to necessarily bring up politics, but you don't necessarily see, like, the Trump administration all the time. You just see Trump because he's the face of it all. You don't see the planning, you don't see the typing, you don't see with like, for instance, Andrew Tate, or like, you don't see with it, for instance, MKBHD. You don't see, for instance, with all these bigger YouTubers like Mr. Beast. You don't see the team sitting there working. You only see his face because he's the brand.
That, and some people are interested in being rich, but not I guess face wise. They're like, I don't care about being famous like that. I just care about the money. There are people like that.
Like,
But
you ever seen like a Beyonce sort of person, like a Beyonce girl?
yes.
You only see Beyonce, right? You don't see the people setting it up. You don't see all that stuff because she's become sort of her own brand.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, the reason I say it has to be a group effort is like for the most full capable and the quickest effect / result, because we didn't grow up by ourselves. Your mom taught you how to use the bathroom, how to use a spoon. Your teacher taught you how to add, multiply. Your dad taught you like the wisdoms of growing up. And then over time, let's say it's a group effort, which is why they say it takes a village to raise somebody, which is like I said, we ain't going to acknowledge those people, but they do it. So it's like a group thing. So that's kind of why I say I feel that extreme pressure of, all right, every day I decide not to do anything. Some guy, same my age, same height, same everything, is doing the exact same thing I'm doing, but better.
Dang, I just had some thought. So when you're seeing those people do those things, do you think whether it's the fear of missing out with a group of people or the fear of missing out by yourself, do you think the difference is like the person you're dealing with is an adversary versus like a friend? So like, for instance, let's say somebody bullied you, but it make you grow up, my bad.
Yeah.
Do you think that is a group effort because a lot of people add it to your life? Like, for instance, like I was saying Musashi earlier, like his enemies were the reason why he grew. He respected those enemies as a Ronin, I guess, not a samurai, because samurais are more of like with the group. But he's a Ronin in a sense where he doesn't apply himself to a group. Although people would pay him droves of money, he applies everything to himself. So do you think, like, for instance, the difference between like fear of missing out with people is like, with a group is like you agree with those people, you haven't cut them off, you kept them around? Or like, do you think regardless of all that, the adversaries you had in your life, the people who sort of put you down, sort of like made you push yourself to discipline, are the people that built you who you are too? Or like that's the single mindset, that's the like I'm by myself?
I think that one is person to person because everybody will be different. Me personally, I'd rather have 2 friends than have 10 that are in the same group, same mindset, same I want to build. But enemies are important too because you can learn from their mistakes and you can learn about your own mistakes while you're competing.
I mean, like the 48 laws of power, like never outshine the master. That's one thing. And then 2 would be like, you know, your friends are more likely to stab you in the back than your enemies. So like you know your enemy better because you kind of look at you don't allow them to pull the rug up under you. Now, because they don't build your entire foundation, they just build part of it. But like when you're with your friends, like for instance, let's say you're doing, I don't know, this room, for instance, and they just kind of leave you there. Do you think like that's kind of like they're pulling the rug up on you? That's the difference between like a person who's by himself and a person who's together with other.
I think when it comes to businesses, ideas, or / things you're building, anything in general, you should be in that position where if they leave, okay. Like, you should be in that position. I want you here. I don't need you here. And not even to say it in a rude way. It's like, I don't need you here. I want you here. I love it. Like, it helps me out. I'm not saying it doesn't. But if you leave, cool.
But there's a callback that you have to realize that needs to be had, though, isn't there? Because, like, you know, you appreciate everyone who works for you. For instance, like, let's say you're owning a business, but you don't necessarily go up to each person in a big job, not like a small one. I'm talking about like a big job, and go like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, because you're the boss. You know, you're not down there for the situations that happen. Like, for instance, McDonald's, they outsource their other places or whatever. You're not necessarily down there at the bottom shaking everybody's individual hand. You create the rule set, they follow it or they don't. Just like with people, you have boundaries, they follow it or they don't. So do you think like the fear of missing out with that would be like, for instance, if you had a situation happen in one of your businesses where, you know, somebody tried to cut you or something,
Physically,
you don't
or
see why that person did that. You don't care because you just got attacked, right? But like, for instance, if you were watching that on the news, you'd be like, why? What's the reason why they did that? How can we prevent it later?
I guess it comes back to the definition of loyalty. I don't if you know the actual definition or no.
Versus what?
In general, do you know the definition of loyalty?
Not a. I mean, there's plenty of them.
It's basically understanding for example, me and you. You understand my patterns. I understand your patterns. We understand it.
Pattern recognition.
Yeah, basically, bingo. That's what it is. And essentially, what I'm saying with that is, you're not looking at my, all right, how is he going to snake me? You're not looking at those patterns. You're looking at, I guess, the whole building the foundation patterns, which is, I learned that recently too. That wasn't I just learned it.
Do you think, so when you're around people, you don't necessarily, every person you think is going to snake you, but you think what they might do might leave you hanging. So you don't necessarily think, hey, bruh, I'm going to go buy this $10,000 watch, but we're doing something like a fundraiser together, and I need money to set that up. You're not necessarily saying I'm snaking you. You're just saying, well, I'm doing this by myself. You're going out of your way to buy those things. You might envy the fact that they're able to do things by themselves, but you're not necessarily in that. So you're like, oh, well, he bought a $10,000 watch. I wish I could do that right now, but I have to spend money on this fundraiser.
That, and acknowledge, well, the one thing that I think most people should try to understand is every race is going to be different. You're not, for example, you're not going to get your Bugatti at the same time I'm going to get mine. It probably might, it might not. But the whole objective is you're competing against me, but you're also competing against yourself. Your main competitor is yourself. You're trying to beat that J. Rose from 10 months ago. That's your main objective. So, yes, but at the same time, no, because like I said, I don't. At least when it comes to materialistic, I don't. It's just not that deep.
Have I ever really thought about competing against myself directly? I mean, yes, I don't really like the old way I used to do things, because especially the principles and morals and all stuff I have now. But I don't necessarily think of every time I'm disciplining myself, going to the gym, doing this, or editing and all that stuff. I don't necessarily think I'm trying to compete against the last guy. A lot of the times it can be that, but a lot of the times it's just discipline. I just kind of want to stay that way, or not necessarily coast, but I kind of want to stay that way in a sense where I'm always working and trying to make things efficient from the last time I did it, or from the last time somebody else did it. For instance, if I see somebody going to the gym and I see a new exercise, I just do the new exercise because I just want to do it because I like going to the gym. I'm not necessarily thinking, well, I just want to do more than I did last time. It's just more of I like actually doing this. I like to actually go to the gym. I think for me, when I wake up in the morning, I like just going to I think the first thing you think when I wake up is I want to go to the gym. It's not even I hate that. I want to go to the gym. And anything that kind of interrupts me in that situation is kind of it's annoying. You get a call, hey man, this business proposal, or hey guy, I want to let's go out and go to the club. Hey man, I gotta get some jewelry, or hey man, you want to go to the mall, or hey man,
you have to acknowledge you had to learn that from your past self to understand that that's pointless and stupid.
So do you think that's for the next topic, I guess, building an anti FOMO mindset? So that I built a mindset where I'm disciplined and I try and detach from the people or things that kind of make me envious of situations where I don't want to necessarily always want to be in them. But there's moments where your body tells you, for instance, I need a girl. I need to do more. I need to, there's no rest time. I need to go out and just show myself, because you want to be like the people around you. But when you kind of get rid of those things, those things that kind of make you envious, do you think for instance, my situation where I'm going to the gym, I just built a mindset where I don't want to be around anybody else that distracts me from what I like to do?
I think that relies on the person because you're right. You know what? Majority of friends might want to go to the club. That's cool. Do they have anything you really desire? Like, do they have the actual car you want? Do they have the house you want? Do they have the family you want? No.
They're in the environment I kind of want the upsides from, but not the downsides. Like, you know, you go to the club, you see the guy with the chain with the girl. You don't care about his backstory. You don't care about hers. You see the guy with the chain with the girl.
Mm-hmm.
When you're going to the gym and you see somebody posting real, like me, for instance, I see the guy with the muscles, or I see the guy with the editing style. Like, I see the guy with the phone I want, or I see the guy with the camera I want. You don't see, you only want those things because you don't have them, because that's the missing out part, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm envious of, I guess, the upsides to being in an environment that I'm not in.
Everyone's always envious of the upside. Nobody's envious of the downside of it. Like I said, for example, that camera, it probably took him 6 months to buy it. You don't want to wait 6 months. Or let's say he has the body that you want. Well, you don't want to wake up at 4 a.m. to go to the gym. Or let's say they have the girl you're talking to. Well, you know, you weren't up at 6 in the morning.
I hope they don't have the girl you're talking to. That'd be terrible.
I don't think you're up 3 hours straight trying to figure out this master business plan. You're not the, but you know, you see the girl. That's why everyone, I don't think people should be looking at it from the face value, which is where the FOMO comes in, because at least as a guy, if you sacrifice now, probably by the time you're 30, probably late 40s, you probably be like, oh, I can do that now, and it doesn't matter anymore.
Is there, do you ever have a fear where it's like you realize fate might not go for good or bad how you wanted it to go? Like, today you could just lose everything you got. You know, you're the Book of Job, where it's just like, you know, things just keep getting thrown at you regardless of how good of a person, how locked in you are, and what you want in life. Regardless of how much you push towards those things, you just might fall short.
So the answer I will realistically give you is, I can't live like that because I have to make everything my fault. Why? Because when you make everything your fault, guess what? I'm in control of my life. If I say I'm going to have this nice car, guess what? It's going to, because I'm in control. It is my fault.
Have you read the Book of Job?
No, go on. I'm listening.
So Job's whole thing is, there was an angel who was watching Job, and God was also watching Job, because he watches everyone. Mm-hmm. He was saying to God, like, we should test and see if this guy can keep doing it. He was a rich guy. He had a wife. He was the most, at the time, praying to God. Mm-hmm. He would do everything for God, no matter what it was said. He would have killed his own children for God. Mm-hmm. So what he was saying is, let's test it. Okay, you're broke now. Storm blew up your house. You know, you're sick now. You know, God threw things at him, even though he was the best person. Mm-hmm. The moral of the story is, it doesn't matter how good, how locked in, how precious the moments are to you, what you have in life, you can still fail, or you can lose everything you have in that moment of not even weakness, but of just the circumstances that you cannot control. Like, you know, the dichotomy of control, where you just, regardless of what you do, things are just not going to be in your hand at all times.
Well, let me ask you this. What's a skill or a characteristic you want to develop yourself in general? Just any character skill that you want.
I want to be that I don't do currently.
Yes, that you like.
Martial arts.
Okay, so do you think God's just gonna snap his finger and make you a great martial artist, or is God gonna make you get your ass beat 30 times so you can actually throw a punch?
So the funny part about that story is, because I didn't end it yet. Not saying he interrupted me or anything, but after that, after all the pain, after all the headache, when he finally said, okay, I can't, you know, not necessarily believe in you anymore, but I'm going to start criticizing what you do. He sat in a room, you know, he kind of sat in a room, I guess, in his own mind. I'm not too sure, guys. I'm not super into necessarily every bit of the story, where I like know the ins and outs of everything. And not saying I'm not interested, but I'm not like, I don't know every detail. But for instance, he sat in, his mind with God, and God was like, so, why do you make things this way? Why is there just situations where I can't get things? Why? Da, 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 da. He was complaining and, telling him his criticisms of everything he does. And he says, are you God? Can you manipulate the universe? Do you have the power to move the sun, the moon, and make day and night? Can you bring light to the people around you? Are you the arbiter of truth and heaven? He would ask him questions like this, and he just could not answer. And he was saying, basically, the moral of the story is good things can happen to people who do good things, but also bad things can happen to people who do good things. So you can say, well, you get the house, you get the car, you get the so-and-so. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, your destiny is your own. And whether you want to reframe it or not, you can still be the homeless man on the street like Seneca and cry and say, get out of the way of my son and all this other stuff. And you can be just a savage and not care about anything in life. Or you can be the stoic who walks around and not really cares about people's emotions but has a sort of poise to it. Or you can be the Taoist who sits at the top of the mountain and be a monk. Or you can be, the guy who's going through, for instance, I may have to mute this out, I'm not too sure, the Holocaust, or for instance, and you go through the pain of the situation. And
you don't know what button I pressed.
I don't know what button you pressed. So that's crazy. I'm not too sure. But you can still come through that depending on the way you think about it. Like, you may not be the richest man in the world. You may not have climbed that mountain you wanted to climb. You may not have even climbed the basic people in your life's things, like your mom, your dad, or your friends. But you can sort of build your own path. And not necessarily saying you want to be in that path at all times at every place. Mm-hmm. But you can build a sort of path for yourself that you enjoy, because you don't want to outsource your path from what other people have. So, like, he was envious of God, and that's where he gave back everything. He was like, my thing is, I know you're not perfect. I know you're going to criticize me at some point. I know all this stuff is going to happen. But at the end of the day, it's about the test to see if you can handle the things that you got today.
Bingo, here runs right on the dot. It's always a test. So...
And you may fail.
Oh, yeah, best believe, 100%. You're not perfect.
And, I'm not saying, you can't, but you may fail and, not get anything at all. You may just fail. I'm dead. Or you may reframe what you had going on. You may be in a battle. You thought you would never join the army, military, or whatnot, and you may die there. And you may have just wanted to die there. And you may have not needed a single dime from anything you did. And you may just have the principles to stand on what you're standing on. You may be the richest man on earth. You may have conquered everything. You may feel lonely at the top, and it may just be boring. But
he is right.
At the end of the day, if you built a legacy from what you're doing, the book of the singular man who became a Ronin, the book of the guy who was in the Holocaust, the book of the guy who was doing things that were outsourced from people around him, like the guy who like Apple, Jeff Bezos, or even single people like Mr. Beast in the beginning, mm-hmm. where he had a friend, but he outsourced things to editors and all the other stuff. You may enjoy that path the way you did it. Mm-hmm. Some people, what do you do with a guy in society who doesn't necessarily agree with what you have going on? And not necessarily saying, like, he doesn't agree with the family get-togethers. He doesn't agree with the having a kid. He doesn't agree with a family. What do you do with that guy who just does not care about those things, just wants to sleep on the ground as a homeless man?
You let them live their life. Let them suffer the consequences. And if that's what they want, that's cool. You just don't expect me to save you. I give you the answer, and then you still complain to me about the same problem. It's cold outside. Well, you can come to this warehouse. They hire homeless. They pay you, and they give you a bed. I don't want to do that. Well, I don't know what you want from me.
You don't allow them to... You're not necessarily allowing them to fail, but I think you're just allowing a person into society who doesn't want to integrate. And that sometimes to feel complete, you have to integrate with the people around you, even if you don't necessarily like it.
I think it depends on the moralities.
Like, so the guy who's sleeping on the street,
Mm-hmm.
there's a homeless shelter right down the street. Would you just say, hey, man, you do what you do? The person doesn't believe in God. You're at his door. You just let him do what he do. The person who just divorced his wife, who did everything to keep him around, you just let him do what he do. Your kid who went out and failed.
That one's a bit different. Kids are different.
No. I'm saying like all these people are people that you know,
Mm-hmm.
or like have spent years with. You just let him fail. Do you, because at some point they've done so much in the wrong, I guess, in your version of the wrong's direction, because you have things you want to get in life that you just cannot save that person. Do you think even if that person was envious of the things you have going on, you would still help them?
I'd help them for my sake, not for theirs. Because at the end of the day, they're probably envious of what I have. They're not envious of the work I did. So to them, like I said, it's easier to criticize me because you're not the one doing the work. Like, for example, huh?
Oh, my bad.
No, I was gonna say, like, for example, you check your calories, right? You count them every time you go to every single day.
I can't even eat something I don't know the calories.
All right, you got that, all right?
Yeah.
They're not jealous of, man, I can only eat once a day. They're not jealous of that. They're jealous of, yeah, my abs are visible. That's what they're jealous of. They're not jealous of, damn, I can't eat this steak today. I just can't eat it. It is what it is. They're not jealous of that.
But from their perspective, I can seem like a narcissist or a person who's like stubborn.
Yes, but you got to come to the exception that regardless of what you do, you could donate $2 billion to children to feed them around the world. Guess what? You're still the bad guy in somebody's story, regardless.
Do you think being relentless, regardless of people's jealousy of you, can be a problem? Because, like, for instance, your girl may make you some food and you just calorie counting, and she ain't got time for that. Or, like, for instance, you may ask your girl to get a prenup, and she don't want to hear all that because it's just extra. It's getting rid of the nuance of the situation. Like, I'm trying to get married to you. I'm trying to be like you when it comes to my bad. I'm trying to make you some food, just simply, and I want you to enjoy that. Do you tell her no? You're going to do this, or I'm going to do this, or do you just allow the situation to happen? You eat the food they gave you. You just go with the marriage.
In an instance like that, if you're getting married, she should understand the playbook anyway from there. So, my honest opinion,
because I've been in these situations before. People try and do things for me. People try and do things for me that I don't necessarily agree with, not because they know per se, but they don't get the gist of who I am, like as disciplined and as principled and as stuck on my goals as I could be.
I think you should say the objective is she's trying to help. 100%. I get that. Great. You need to explain it in a nice, courteous way to explain, hey, I greatly appreciate it, but I really need it like in this ounces, in this fluid ounces, in these pounds. I need it in this to continue.
What do you
goal.
do in a situation where it's not as simple as that? Not necessarily saying she's trying to put you in a bad place, but it's not as simple as, I apologize, I can't do it. Or it's like,
okay,
because you can't just keep saying no, because you're going to lose your relationship with people. You, at some point, you'd have to either allow the principle. I have this schedule. You can get in where the fuck you fit in. It's like that's your I guess anti-FOMO mindset, where it's like, I just do what I do, and if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. But in times, I can see how that can be sort of a problem.
That's why it requires sacrifice, because it's not a forever thing. It is a just for right now thing. If you can understand it is just for right now, and you fit in where you can, then you will enjoy the fruits of the labor. If you put 10 years of your life of hard work, and now let's say you get $1 million, and she stuck with you all 10 years, well, guess what? Well, now she can buy a new car for every day of the week. She can buy a new dress. She can buy whatever she wants, and she has all the time in the world. So it's more of a, I have to sacrifice right now, and if she understands that and is helping you on the mission, It's an understanding because nobody's perfect. No, not one relationship is perfect. You always have things you don't like about each other.
I mean, when it comes to like cutting people off, because you'd have to, if you're sticking to your thing, you know, you cut people off, or you kind of downsize the people around you because you want to sort of keep that anti-FOMO mindset. Do you think that's an issue in some cases? Do you think you might be envious of the fact that you lost what you had, or you know, or do you think like, hey, just stick to your path, bruh. It'll come back to fruition one day. If not for, you know, for instance, the Book of Job, or you may just turn out like the top guy in the world. Who fucking knows? But that's your destiny at that point.
I think when it comes to, I think you miss the idea of your friend, because I mean, if they're not helping you on the mission, or they're not like in support of it, then they're just kind of holding you back. As rude as it sounds, like, we're just kind of holding me back. Not even in a mean way. It's more of, some people just want to be average, and that's cool. Me personally, and if you're watching this, you probably don't want to be average, which is cool too. So you can't get ready to edit this shit. You can't put these gay normie standards on yourself to where you basically, like, for example, everyone goes to the club on Saturday. Well, you have to go, you know, it's Saturday, have fun. That's normie standards. I'm better than that. I'm gonna be a multimillionaire. Saturday is every day of the week. That you can't put normal people standards on yourself. So when you start dating people or associating with people who are not normal people, normies, I'm gonna put it like that, normies, put the effect right there, just normies, when you don't hang out with them, you're going to be exceptional, which means exceptional standards. We work Monday through Saturday, half a Sunday. Bro, you need a day off. That's normie standards. I don't do that. We're better than that. We're exceptional. We don't do that.
But see, a lot of the people you look at do take rest days.
You're right. I'm just saying it sounds crazy to a normal person, but to exceptional people, just another Monday.
You have to stay obsessed. Like, of course, like for instance, you know, sometimes I get not burnt out editing, but my brain is burnt out from editing. Or like if you know, you're not necessarily, your body isn't burnt. You know, your mindset isn't burnt out, but your body is. You want to change, but like, can you adapt? Can you grow from a situation of rest? Like for instance, in Dragon Ball, you could say, oh, he was grinding, oh, he's the mindset, oh, he's the guy. But a lot of times he was resting too. Literally, you know, eat, you know, sleep. That's the way, you know, type of thing, like the Turbo Hermit way. You know, he says stuff like that. You know, you have to rest.
Yeah, I'm not denying that. My whole point with it is the things you're afraid that you're missing out on. If you want to be average, yes, you're missing out. If you want to be average. But you have to understand, people who want to be exceptional, it doesn't really matter. I'm just being honest. Like I said, I'm not saying rest days are bad. If you want rest days, that is cool. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is you can't want to be exceptional but then have normal people standards on you. You can't do that. You can't have normal people standards.
What do you determine as a, I guess, anti-FOMO normie standards type of thing? And not necessarily trying to get too cryptic in here, but like,
I enjoy 9 to 5 and I'm living for the weekend. Saturday and Sunday are my favorite days of the week. I love going to Starbucks. You know, I'm going to get the best girlfriend by just being nice to her. I make below 50K, and I'm just happy. I care about being happy. Happiness is what matters to me. I'm happy. That is normie standards. I want to have young. I can't afford to take care of my kids, but that's okay because I'm happy. That's normie standards.
Okay.
I'm like, no, so we don't do that.
What would be the opposite of that?
Sacrificing your 20s to relax later on. That's just a part of it. That fitness is important. I'm not gonna ever deny that. Always look to do better. We don't, not 9 to 5s, you know, forget 9 to 5s. Always want to do something better, whether that be a side hustle or learning a blue collar skill, which actually pays a lot. And basically always self-improvement in any way you can, whether that be knowledge, body, finances, or creating something innovating.
Do you think hustle culture is a lot of the reason why people have the fear of missing out in the first place?
I think they enjoy the front view of it, hustle culture. I think they enjoy the front view of it, not the, oh, this actually takes work.
I mean, well, you know, because hustle culture has sort of gotten dark where it's like you do things to sort of, like I was saying earlier with you in the car, like make things efficient, but it's not necessarily the right way, or it might mess you up if you do those things. Like, I can get steroids. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it hurts. Sometimes, going to the club, you might very well find a good girl. I don't know. You go traveling, you might get a business proposal you never had before, or if you just go around and talk to people. I don't know. Are there situations where you feel like if you had gone on that trip, if you had gone out to that club, if you had gone out of your way to, I don't know, I guess go with your girlfriend out on Tuesday or whatever, do you think there's situations where you missed out on something that could have happened because those environments can somewhat or technically breed some kind of resolve? Like, you have to go out to an event to network with people.
You're living off of probability at that point. Well, my bad. I'm sorry. Not probability. I'm sorry. You're living off possibility. You're right. For all you know, you might meet your wife in the club. But what is the probability of that? Probably pretty slim. So, like you said, taking steroids or unethically doing things, you're just looking for a shortcut. And to be successful in life in general, there is no realistic shortcuts. People will be lying to you because well, it's hard work. I know that's not the answer people want to hear.
I mean, there's shortcuts, just not probable. Like, for instance, you can be an industry plant and they just set everything up for you, or you can go to the club, with your homeboy's chain and his car. I don't know. You can go out with your friends to an event and meet somebody that you don't normally meet. Like, sometimes I think about that. It's like the fact that I don't go out, I stick in the gym, I go to work, I go home, and I do this and all that stuff. Is that a hindrance in the sense that I'm not allowing myself to risk situations where I would be outside of my own normal, like, I guess, purview, like what I would see normally in a day? I go home, I go to the gym, I go to sleep, I get to work, I go home, I go to sleep, eat, sleep, wake up, reproduce, and die. Like one said from Stranger Things. Like, you just go home, you go to sleep, because you're not challenging yourself you're not challenging your principles and sticking to your my bad. You can stick to your path and just keep doing your principles, but you don't allow the risk of everyday situations to kind of like allow you to pass or fail. Like, I don't go out to the library. I just order stuff because it's efficient, or I don't go out to events even though they're fun and stuff, but I could also meet people, like a girlfriend, like a business partner, like, a friend, somebody who could edit for me, I don't know, or somebody who could like do these videos, or somebody who could make my Instagram post for me, or TikTok clips, or, it's like you don't allow yourself to find people to enjoy things with, because you can narrow down your people, but like you said, you can't do it alone. Even us two, or like two people groups, like a lot of two people groups you probably see today are like you have a whole team of people that you just don't see.
Yes, I can see where you're going with that, but how do I say this? It's like me going to the club, for example. The chances of me finding a top tier editor in a club, I'm kind of lying to myself saying, yeah, I'm going to find one in here, because you're right. I might, but you're talking about an extremely slim chance. So
I wouldn't say an editor will be a thing for a club. I guess you can meet somebody like somebody who owns the club, who could tell you how to do business. And because not necessarily every guy who goes to the club is like a person who goes to jail and all this extra stuff. They could teach you how to do business, or they could also be the guy who owns a studio like this, or you go out to an event where you're just having fun. Like, let's say we go to a gaming event, we could beat another YouTuber who could sit down here today.
Yeah, a gaming event would be a bit different. That'd be different because I'm like, well, I'm coming here because I know other YouTubers are gonna be here. That's a whole different situation.
But you could just be going there for enjoyment.
You're right, you could.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of the enjoyable areas you meet could be where you want to meet the person you're trying to meet. Like, if you have a niche, like gaming, you just want to game, but you might meet somebody there. If you like going to if you like exercising, you go to the pool or whatever for a little bit, and not necessarily saying it's the best exercise or worst exercise or whatever. You're just kind of going there just because you enjoy it. And, you might meet some millionaire who's sitting there at the same hotel you're sitting at. I don't know. You know, you might get an apartment and the person who's giving you the key could be your auntie's son or something. I don't know. You have situations where you kind of don't test the water to see what you could see out in the wild.
Yeah, but you're speaking from the perspective of I solely live just to go to work and that's it. If you are like, all right, I'm going to just grind on my YouTube channel and just go to work and not spend money, well, that's a different ballgame because you're intentionally trying to grow. Now, you're aware, hey, there's a YouTube event. Well, that's different. You're intentionally going to look to network.
I mean, but isn't there a certain level of fuck around and find out that you have to have with life, like where you can't just do the things you normally do because you're going to coast eventually, where all the situations, all the environments you've looked at that are just the normal thing you do because you feel like that's the right path you have going on, you know, anti-FOMO or whatever, and you haven't really tried something new.
It's one of those, how would I say this properly?
Like
I
it could be a fuck around and find out, basically. Like you can go to a game event, you know, 9 out of 10, you're probably not gonna person you're probably trying to talk to. You know, you can email that one person. You know, it's the same thing as emailing that one YouTuber or whatever online that you saw that you want to be in here. Or, you know, you can go to the pool party and meet a girl that could possibly be your girl. You know, not as I mean, she might have just been going out just with her friends just to see what's going on. She might be trying to find her husband or whatever. You know, what do you do in situations where it's kind of like a neutral situation where you just can be in an environment that's outside of just your normal stuff because you have to challenge yourself in life, I guess.
I speak from a perspective of, how do I say it properly? I want to make sure I want to say it correctly. Speaking from a perspective of, is there a possibility? Yes, 100%. But you can't go off of every little thing thinking, well, you know, I'm going to go to this. I might meet such and such, or you might not. Sometimes, literally, you can create your own possibilities. In the aspect of, for example, let's say like J. Rose by himself becomes a brand. Well, people come up to you now. But, you know, you're creating it. You're not going to it.
I'll bring this to a conclusion. I like to wrap it up by saying a couple things for you guys. You're not behind, okay? You are only behind in the idea if you're not working on becoming the person you want to be. So if you got a rest day, if you got a day where you got to work, where if the people are envious of you, if you know you can't sort of let the principles of life kind of be taken away from you, but put too much in, then I think you're not behind. You're just living the lonely period where you can't just invest in every single thing that goes on in life. Most people, they if you're looking at them and they're sprinting, if they're moving faster than you, likely they may just either be moving faster than you, or it just looks like that from afar. And sometimes it's better to be late and try the whole time, even if you see the people around you doing the things you want to do, than to never try at all.
He can't hear that, but, you know, y'all heard it. Oh, is it my turn?
Yeah.
Okay, but all right, guys. I just want to say, FOMO is a fallacy, guys. You're not missing out on anything. It is a process, and you must trust the process always. Don't ever doubt it. It might happen today. It might happen tomorrow. It might happen 6 months. It might happen in a year. But you know what? As long as you keep trying, it's going to happen. And that's the Tog Bros way.
What, guys, is one way you felt FOMO in the last year? Have you felt a time where you've been fearing of missing out, and have you fallen apart from that issue, or have you grown from it? I have to ask that. So if you guys can send the comments and tell me about that, I'll be looking down there. If you guys will like, subscribe, comment in the description, and follow, bookmark, remix, whatever the hell they call it these days.
Oh, make sure you tag us on Pinterest, too. Tag us on Pinterest.
And I'm gonna look into creating a Patreon. So if you guys want to support from afar, you know, where you're not really missing out what we're doing.
From afar, guys. From
afar. Some of you come in this room, you know what I'm saying? And if you add to the situation, you might be able to come in this room.
Yeah, guys.
Or add to the podcast. How about that? But ultimately, guys, you got this.
Yeah, guys. If anyone tells you you're missing out, they're probably average.
And I'll say this for you guys. See you, saw you, sayonara.
Yeah, let's go!